I don't know why Jesus is so hated. I don't know why he's so misunderstood, because he never did anything wrong. Like, why is there so much hatred of this man? And I think it boils down to two categories: ignorance or apathy. Ignorance is I don't know, and apathy is I don't care. And I think those two categories are growing more and more as the world is barreling towards this precipice of hell.
One thing we have here is Shawn Ryan Show. We have a Patreon. It's a subscription account. They're our top supporters. A lot of them have been with us since the very, very beginning. And so one thing I like to do is offer them an opportunity to ask each guest a question. And there's some good ones here. I'm going to save some of them for later on in the interview.
Okay.
But this is from Al. I love the quote you once said, "Protect your mornings." It's a very profound quote, and I carry that with me every day. How does one protect your morning?
Well, for me, the day gets away from me pretty quickly as it goes on. The sun goes up and anything can happen, you know. Somebody could be dying. It happens quite often. We have a hospital in Columbia, so all the surrounding areas, maybe 30 miles out, especially going south, their people go there, and at least once or twice a week somebody's dying and needs me to go right away to give them the last rites. I don't do exorcism on demand, but I will meet with somebody if they're suffering, at least try to relieve some of the suffering before I get them on a spiritual regimen. And that could just happen. They show up at the church randomly. You never know when they're going to show up. And then there's spiritual direction appointments day in and day out and all sorts of other things. So my morning, when I say protected, I go over to the church at 5:30, get up at 4:20, get over there by 5:30. And then I have exposition of the Blessed Sacrament until 8 o'clock. The last half hour, I have confessions. We do benediction. Then we have Mass. And then I go on radio at 9, and that's till 9:30. And, you know, so the morning is set. And usually nobody disrupts that prayer time in the morning. So I know it's going to happen. And I need it. I need it because it's not me that goes out into the day to help these people. It's God, and he works through me. But it's his grace. It's his power. And if I don't get filled up on him, I'm kind of worthless for the rest of the day. And then I'm just really a social worker.
Thank you for answering that. I have some personal questions. One of them is there's not going to be a good time to ask this during the interview, I don't think. So
Shoot.
So I told you I had left the church, and I'm new back into Christianity about a year.
Same.
Trying to
a little more than a year.
Pick through the Bible, and you know, the one thing that, and so we started a Bible study at my house, it's 4 families. We're very, very, very close to each other, and one of the guy that leads it is a former pastor, who I think kind of got ran out because he said that pastors shouldn't be focused on money; they should be focused on spreading the word. And a lot of people around here didn't like that, I guess. So, so now he leads our thing. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I think the thing that resonates with me the most out of what I've learned so far, maybe not the most, but it always sticks out in my head, and I talk about it all the time, is that from what he says, the church is not a brick and mortar building. It is the living body of believers in Jesus Christ. And so that is something I never heard growing up as a Catholic. And so I just wanted to see what you think about that.
That is very true. If you think about the church, when Jesus chose these 12 men to go out and make disciples of all nations, when he ascended to heaven and they took up this mission, and it was a big mission, imagine, and they're not particularly qualified either, mostly fishermen. They go forth, but now they have the Holy Spirit because Pentecost has happened, and they're set ablaze with the Spirit. The same Spirit that led Jesus his whole 33 years is now in those men, And it's now in us if we're baptized, particularly if you got confirmed too. You get sealed with that spirit, same spirit. And they go forth. But there's also a persecution happening because the leaders of Jerusalem, and you could even say in Rome and all over the world, they don't want this new religion. So if they catch you, you die. So the first, I think, 32, 33 popes were all martyred. So if they said to you, we just elected you pope, it was a way of saying you're about to die because they're killing everybody. And now you're a public figure that says you're leading this new church. And as such, there were no brick and mortar churches because how could you build a church? It'd be a big red flag. Here's where we worship. Come and kill us. So for maybe 300-400 years, there was no brick and mortar church. They were in people's homes. But they were celebrating the Mass the way that Jesus did at the Last Supper. So they were taking the bread and the wine, praying the prayers of consecration and turning it into his body and blood. And that was what was sustaining them. And that was giving them even the graces to die for Jesus and his cause, this church, that people would, the blood of the martyrs is the kind of the seed that spurns on the church to go forward. So yeah, that's absolutely correct. Once you have Constantine come on the scene and basically took up Christianity as the religion of the kingdom, and he put the cross on all the flags, and when he would go into battle. Then they knew they could build churches because the king would protect them. The Roman emperor would protect them. And that's when the churches got built, and they've continued to build them ever since. But you go into countries like in the Middle East that are Muslim, there's still a lot of underground churches where there's no, it's just in people's homes because they know if we're discovered, it could be a big problem.
Is there, another thing is, you had talked about my Megyn Kelly podcast and some of the things that we discussed in there, and
Middleman.
that's where I'm going.
Good. I'm a middleman. Did you know that? I'm a middleman.
I did.
And no priest, no Eucharist.
Okay.
No priest, no confession.
Okay.
It would be terrible. It would be terrible. But if you want to go back to scripturally, Moses was a huge middleman. I mean, he was constantly interceding for those people, and it was only by Moses' prayers that God was always relent and, take them back into his custody, his shelter of his protection. But does God need a middleman? Of course not. He can do anything. But what we've come to know and learn, particularly through his son, is that he's a family guy. Mm-hmm. The very Trinity is its own family. And he was perfect before he created anything. And he was completely content, didn't need to do anything. But because he has this overwhelming, magnificent, overflowing love, he wanted to create children. And he wanted to build a stage for them. That's the universe. And he put everything under the domain of man. Everything was all under Adam and Eve. But Adam and Eve were made for God. That was his special creation. This is the reason Lucifer rebelled, because he heard of this plan, and he was so disgusted that a person of the Trinity would take on human flesh, which was considered much lower than the angels, humans, because pure spirit is a lot higher perfection and form than the material creation of a body. That's why they rebelled, yet Jesus went forth with this plan anyway, and he does take on human flesh. And when he ascended to the throne of God in heaven, now there's a person with a human body sitting on the throne of God. And that's how much he loves us as people. Did you ever think about that? Like, it's
Not like
us. There's one of us sitting on the throne now. Like, he left as pure spirit. The word became flesh and dwelt among us. He ascended back with a body, which will forever be his body. That's how much he loves us. And so when I hear people, I don't know why Jesus is so hated. I don't know why he's so misunderstood. I've prayed about this and pondered this for months and months and months because he never did anything wrong. Like, why is there so much hatred of this man? And I think it boils down to two categories. I think there's ignorance or apathy. And, and I've asked people at conferences that I go and do missions, and I would say, do you know what the difference between ignorance and apathy? And, frequently there's always somebody who goes, I don't know and I don't care. And I'm like, exactly, that's the difference. Ignorance is I don't know, and apathy is I don't care. And I think those two categories are growing more and more as the world is barreling towards this precipice of hell. More and more people say, I'm a nun. I don't participate in religion, NONE, not the sisters. And they think that protects them. Like, I'm good. I'm not getting involved with this. But Jesus told us, if you're not with me, you're against me. So
Do you think that maybe Jesus is so hated because elites are threatened by a higher power?
definitely, it's one of the reasons. I mean, I think if you look at the global religions, of course, and I'm not saying Muslims hate Jesus, but what they do is they deny who he is. They say he's a great prophet. Well, he said he was the son of God. So he's either a liar or he's God. He can't be a great prophet because a great prophet doesn't lie. But they haven't really thought it through. The Jews are still waiting for the return of the Messiah, so they're also in a different kind of camp. Like, well, that's not our guy. But what if you miss the boat? I mean, the temple's gone. It's over. What are you waiting for? Like, if you really thought about it, you'd have to say, maybe we did miss this. I don't know.
When you talk about when you were just we were just talking about Adam and Eve and Lucifer, and so before Adam and Eve, where did the angels come from?
So we believe, as Catholics, that before the created matter of the universe, the stuff that we can touch, he created all the angels in one single moment. And Aquinas writes a lot about this. But he had to give them a way to test their allegiance. And so this plan of God with man was kind of in some way leaked or shown. And that's when they said, we will not serve this cause. A third of them, we think. We don't know. It's not a science. And there's no scriptural definition of how many, but we know Lucifer fell for sure. That's written in the Bible. And he took there's a Revelation says he took a third of the stars with him. And these luminaries we assume to be the angels. Incredibly intelligent, incredibly powerful beings, but they don't have bodies. Pure spirit, just like God. Then he creates all of us, and we're kind of a hybrid because we're not pure matter, but we're not pure spirit. We are both matter and spirit. So we're unique in that way, in the way nothing else in creation is like us. And as I mentioned, he kind of, if you think about all God did for us, he made us out of his love for us. So just for that reason alone, we kind of owe him something. I mean, he made me. If you go and you create a vase, you make this vase and put it on a shelf. Like, if the vase had a personality, I would have to say, thank you for making me. But, it's a vase. It doesn't know what to do. It has no mind.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.